The arrival of the Invincible. The Krillian Empire had conquered 17 star systems without a single defeat. Their flagship, the Sovereign, was considered indestructible throughout the known galaxy. A technological marvel encased in a hull made of quantanium, a material forged in the hearts of dying stars. No weapon had ever scratched it. No defense had ever stopped it. The Krillian believed this made them invincible, destined to rule all sentient life. Admiral Xeris stood on the command deck of the Sovereign, his scaled skin shimmering under the blue lights of the bridge. At nearly 8 feet tall, he towered over his officers, his 4 eyes constantly scanning the tactical displays surrounding him. The Sovereign had just emerged from hyperspace at the edge of yet another solar system, one that the Krillian had long ignored due to its remote location and seemingly unremarkable inhabitants. "Status report," Xeris demanded, his voice a low rumble that reverberated through the bridge. "Sensors indicate 8 planets orbiting a single yellow star, Admiral," reported Science Officer Vela, her fingers dancing across holographic controls. "The 3rd planet shows signs of advanced civilization, but primitive technology, detecting approximately 8.7 billion life forms." Xeris studied the holographic projection of Earth floating before him. "Primitive, you say? Quantify." "Their most advanced spacecraft used chemical propulsion. They have never ventured beyond their own moon. Their weapons are primarily kinetic and nuclear, nothing that could penetrate our quantanium hull." A smile crept across Xeris's face, revealing rows of serrated teeth. Perfect. Another easy conquest for the Empire. He turned to his communications officer. "Send the standard approach message. Let them know their new masters have arrived." As the Sovereign pushed deeper into the solar system, it passed Jupiter with its swirling red storm, a gas giant that impressed even the well-traveled Krillian crew. The massive warship was nearly 2 miles long, its sleek black hull absorbing rather than reflecting light, making it appear like a moving void against the stars. On Earth, the first to notice the anomaly was Dr. Elena Sharma, an astronomer at the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile. She had been tracking Jupiter's moons when her instruments detected something impossible, a massive object moving at incredible speed toward the inner solar system. "This can't be right," she muttered, recalibrating her equipment. But the readings remained the same. Whatever this was, it was huge, fast, and definitely not natural. Belena's hands trembled as she reached for her phone to alert her supervisor. Within hours, observatories around the world had confirmed her findings. Emergency meetings convened in capitals across the globe as military forces were placed on high alert. The object was now clearly visible through even amateur telescopes, a massive black vessel unlike anything humans had ever created. In the Pentagon's Situation Room, General Marcus Williams briefed the President of the United States. "Madam President, the object is approximately 3 kilometers long and appears to be slowing as it approaches Earth orbit. We've attempted radio contact on all frequencies, but have received no response." The President, a former Navy admiral with decades of military experience, maintained her composure despite the unprecedented crisis. "Options, General." "Limited, I'm afraid. We've activated all orbital defense systems, but based on the vessel's size and technology, our analysts doubt they would be effective. So we wait for them to make the first move," the President said grimly. They didn't have to wait long. As the alien ship settled into Earth orbit, a message was broadcast simultaneously on every electronic device on the planet. Televisions, radios, phones, computers, all displaying the same image. A tall, reptilian figure with 4 eyes and scaled skin. "People of Earth," the alien spoke in perfect English, its voice translated by advanced technology. "I am Admiral Xeris of the Krillian Empire. Your planet is now under our control. Your resources and people now belong to us. We require no permission and will accept no resistance. Our warship, the Sovereign, is indestructible. Your weapons cannot harm us. Your defenses cannot stop us. Submit, and you may live as servants of the Empire." Resist, and you will be eliminated. The message ended abruptly, plunging the world into chaos. In some places, panic erupted. In others, people gathered in prayer or defiance. Military forces around the world mobilized, despite knowing their weapons would likely be useless. At the United Nations headquarters in New York, world leaders gathered for an emergency session. The Russian president proposed an immediate nuclear strike. The Chinese premier suggested attempted negotiation. The British Prime Minister advocated for a show of unified defiance. Amid the heated debate, a young scientist from India named Dr. HFY Patel requested permission to address the assembly. Though not a politician or diplomat, Dr. Patel was a renowned materials scientist whose work on advanced composites had revolutionized several industries. Distinguished leaders, he began nervously, I've been analyzing the limited data we have on the alien vessel's hull. While it appears to absorb all forms of energy we've detected, there's something unusual happening where the ship passes through our upper atmosphere. He displayed magnified images on the large screens around the assembly hall. These areas show subtle discoloration, suggesting a chemical reaction between their hull material and something in our atmosphere. I believe their supposedly indestructible material may have a weakness, one they don't even know about. The assembly erupted in questions, but the Secretary General silenced them with a raised hand. Dr. Patel, are you suggesting their invincible ship might be vulnerable to our air? Not exactly, Dr. Patel clarified. But my analysis suggests their hull material may be susceptible to oxidation when exposed to our specific atmospheric blend. It's similar to how certain metals that are stable in pure nitrogen or carbon dioxide can rapidly corrode in oxygen-rich environments. The President of the United States leaned forward. How quickly would this reaction occur? That's what I don't know, Dr. Patel admitted. It could take months or years, or it could accelerate rapidly if the reaction is catalytic. We need more data, which we might get, interjected General Williams, if we could force them to descend deeper into our atmosphere. A plan began to take shape, a desperate gambit based on scientific speculation and human ingenuity. If Dr. Patel was right, Earth might have a chance. If he was wrong, humanity would face subjugation or extinction. Aboard the Sovereign, Admiral Xiris reviewed the humans' response to his ultimatum. Most concerning were the readings from the hull sensors where the ship had briefly dipped into Earth's upper atmosphere. The data showed unexpected molecular activity on the quantanium surface, minor but unusual. Explain this, he demanded of his chief engineer, a Krillian named Corvus who had overseen the construction of the Sovereign's hull. Corvus studied the readings, his lower eyes narrowing in concentration. Curious. The outer molecular layer is showing signs of oxidation. Nothing concerning yet, barely a few atoms deep, but I've never seen quantanium react with anything before. Could their weapons have caused this? Xiris asked, though he knew the answer. Impossible, Admiral. Nothing in their arsenal could affect our hull. This appears to be a chemical reaction with something in their atmosphere, perhaps a unique combination of gases we haven't encountered before. Xiris dismissed the concern with a wave of his clawed hand. Monitor it, but proceed as planned. Prepare the landing craft. I want our forces on the ground within 12 hours. Admiral, Corvus hesitated. Perhaps we should conduct more tests before. Are you questioning my orders? Xiris's voice dropped to a dangerous growl. No, Admiral. I'll prepare a monitoring protocol while the invasion proceeds. As Corvus left the bridge, he felt a rare sensation for a Krillian officer, doubt. In 17 conquered systems, the Sovereign had never shown any vulnerability. But something about this unremarkable planet was different. He would follow orders, but he would also prepare contingencies. The Sovereign was his responsibility, and he took that duty seriously. On Earth, Dr. Patel had been given unprecedented resources to develop his theory. Working with atmospheric scientists, chemists, and military strategists, he refined his hypothesis. Earth's unique atmospheric composition, Specifically, the combination of oxygen, nitrogen, water vapor, and trace gases might create a catalytic reaction with the alien hull material. The key, he explained to the assembled leaders, is to maximize the ship's exposure to our atmosphere. If we can force them to descend lower, the reaction should accelerate exponentially as atmospheric density increases. And how do we convince an invincible alien warship to descend into our atmosphere? Asked the French president skeptically. General Williams stepped forward. By giving them a reason to believe they need to get closer to intimidate us. We'll make it look like we're preparing a major offensive, something they'll want to crush immediately to demonstrate their power. The Israeli Prime Minister nodded slowly. A bluff. We pretend to gather our forces for a last stand. And they'll want to make an example of us. Finished the President of the United States. They'll come down to intimidate us, to show their invincibility up close. It's a gamble, the Russian president warned. If Dr. Patel is wrong, we'll have brought their full might directly to our doorstep. If I'm wrong, Dr. Patel said quietly, then humanity's fate is sealed anyway. But if I'm right, if their indestructible ship has a weakness, then we have a chance. The plan was set in motion. Around the world, military forces made highly visible deployments. Missile batteries were ostentatiously prepared. Aircraft took to the skies in formation. It was the largest coordinated military display in human history, all carefully choreographed to appear threatening, while actually positioning forces to observe the alien vessel's reaction to deeper atmospheric exposure. On the Sovereign, Admiral Xiris watched the humans' preparations with amusement. They truly believe they can fight us, he remarked to his officers. Such primitive defiance deserves a proper response. He turned to his navigation officer. Take us down. I want every human on that planet to see the Sovereign filling their sky. Let them understand true power before we conquer them. As the massive alien warship began its descent toward Earth, Chief Engineer Corvus returned to the bridge with urgent news. Admiral, the whole reaction is accelerating as we descend. The molecular degradation has increased tenfold in the past hour. Xiris frowned. Is the structural integrity compromised? Not yet, Corvus replied. But if this acceleration continues... Continue descent, Xiris commanded. Nothing can damage the Sovereign. These readings must be in error. As the massive black ship pushed deeper into Earth's atmosphere, humanity held its breath and waited to see if their desperate gambit would work. The sea chemistry of HFY, the Sovereign descended through Earth's upper atmosphere, its massive black hull blotting out the sun over the Atlantic Ocean. Millions watched from coastlines and through live video feeds as the supposedly invincible alien warship positioned itself to deliver its intimidating message to humanity. Inside his engineering bay, Chief Engineer Corvus stared at his monitors with growing alarm. The hull sensors were showing accelerating degradation across the outer layer of quantanium. What had begun as a molecular-level anomaly was now visibly spreading across the ship's surface. Admiral, he called through the ship's communication system, we need to abort the descent immediately. The whole reaction is becoming critical. On the bridge, Admiral Xiris dismissed the warning with a snarl. Impossible. Nothing can damage quantanium. Continue descent as ordered. With respect, Admiral, Corvus persisted. The evidence is conclusive. Something in this planet's atmosphere is catalyzing a breakdown in our hull structure. The reaction is accelerating exponentially as we descend into denser air. To prove his point, Corvus transmitted images from external cameras to the bridge's main display. What the Admiral saw shocked him. Patches of the Sovereign's perfect black hull were developing a bluish tinge. In some areas, the surface had begun to pit and flake. Impossible, Xiris whispered, his confidence shaken for the first time in his long military career. On Earth, Dr. Ajay Patel watched the descending ship through a powerful telescope from a military base in North America. It's working, he breathed, barely able to contain his excitement. Look at the whole surface. The alien ship's previously perfect black exterior was now marred by spreading patches of blue-green corrosion. As it descended into thicker atmosphere, the reaction visibly accelerated. What had been minor discoloration was now structural degradation. General Williams studied the live feed with cautious optimism. How long until it affects their structural integrity? At this rate of acceleration, Dr. Patel calculated quickly, minutes, not hours. The catalytic reaction is feeding on itself. Each compromised area exposes more surface to our atmosphere, which in turn accelerates the breakdown. Aboard the Sovereign, alarms blared as structural integrity monitors registered the unthinkable. The Quantanium hull was failing. Corvus rushed through the engineering decks, organizing repair teams, but the degradation was spreading faster than they could respond. "Admiral," he reported grimly, "we have confirmed hull breaches in sectors 7 through 12. The reaction appears to be a catalytic oxidation process involving this planet's unique atmospheric composition. The oxygen-nitrogen ratio combined with water vapor and trace gases is breaking down the quantum bonds in our hull material." Cyrus stared at the damage reports flooding his command screens. How is this possible? Quantanium is impervious to all known weapons and environmental conditions. Apparently not all, Corvus replied. We've never encountered this precise atmospheric mixture before. The reaction appears to be using our own hull energy against us. The more power we route to the affected areas, the faster the degradation spreads. A violent shudder ran through the ship as a major support structure failed. Warning lights flashed across every console on the bridge. "Hull integrity at 72% and falling," reported the tactical officer, her voice tight with fear. Cyrus made a decision. Abort descent. Return to orbit immediately. Too late, Corvus responded, his voice grim. Engine control systems are compromised. We can't generate enough thrust to escape the atmosphere. On Earth, military leaders watched in astonishment as the alien vessel began to visibly deteriorate. Large sections of the hull were now completely transformed from black to a corroded blue-green. In some areas, the material was flaking away entirely, exposing the ship's internal structures. "It's working better than we could have hoped," Dr. Patel said, unable to hide his amazement. "The reaction is self-sustaining now. Their hull material appears to be undergoing complete molecular restructuring." General Williams turned to his communications officer. "Alert all forces. Prepare for potential debris. This thing might be coming down." Aboard the failing Sovereign, Admiral Cyrus faced the unthinkable: defeat. His invincible warship was disintegrating around him. Emergency bulkheads slammed down throughout the vessel as atmosphere vented from countless breaches. Crew members rushed to evacuation pods, though most knew they had nowhere to go on this hostile planet. How? Cyrus demanded of Corvus, who had returned to the bridge to report that engineering decks were now completely exposed to Earth's atmosphere. How could these primitives know our weakness when we did not? They didn't, Corvus replied simply. They got lucky. Their planet's atmosphere just happens to contain the exact combination of elements that can catalyze quantanium breakdown. One different gas, one different ratio, and we would have been invulnerable as always. Another violent tremor shook the bridge. Support beams cracked and electrical systems failed. Emergency lighting bathed the command center in an eerie red glow. "Hull integrity at 31%, reported the tactical officer. "Structural collapse imminent." Cyrus stood tall, facing the inevitable with the dignity expected of a Krillian admiral. "Send a final transmission to the Empire. Warn them about this world. These humans, they are more dangerous than we realized." On Earth, the alien ship's catastrophic failure was visible to the naked eye. The massive vessel, once a perfect black void against the sky, now glowed with patches of blue-green corrosion that spread like a disease across its surface. Pieces began to break away, creating fiery streaks as they burned up in the atmosphere. Military forces worldwide tracked the debris, ready to intercept any large fragments that might threaten populated areas. but most of the alien material was disintegrating completely during atmospheric entry, reduced to fine particles that dispersed in the upper atmosphere. In the United Nations Command Center, world leaders watched in awe as humanity's greatest threat destroyed itself before their eyes. "We didn't fire a single shot," marveled the British Prime Minister. "Yet we've won our greatest victory," replied the President of the United States. "Not through weapons, but through science and understanding." Dr. Patel watched silently, his mind already racing ahead. "We need to collect as much of that material as possible," he said finally. "The technological advances we could gain from studying it could advance humanity by centuries." The Sovereign's final moments were spectacular. As structural integrity failed completely, the massive ship broke apart in Earth's upper atmosphere. The Quantanium, once the pride of the Krillian Empire, had been transformed by Earth's atmosphere into a brittle, oxidized compound that shattered rather than bent. The ship's power core went critical, creating a final flash that briefly outshone the sun before fading away. In the aftermath, humanity faced a new reality. They were not alone in the universe, and now they knew that at least one interstellar empire viewed them as a target for conquest. But they also had hope. Earth itself had provided an unexpected defense against a technologically superior foe. Recovery teams collected fragments of alien technology that survived the ship's destruction. Scientists worldwide collaborated to understand the Krillian's advanced systems. The Quantanium samples were particularly valuable. Once they completed their atmospheric reaction, they stabilized into a new material with extraordinary properties. 6 months after the Sovereign's destruction, Dr. Patel presented his findings to the United Nations. "The Krillians' mistake was their arrogance," he explained. "They believed their technology made them invincible, so they never tested it against every possible condition. They conquered 17 star systems without encountering an atmosphere with Earth's precise composition." "Will they return?" asked the Secretary General, voicing humanity's greatest concern. "Almost certainly," Dr. Patel acknowledged. "But next time, we'll be ready. The technology we've recovered has advanced our understanding of physics, material science, and propulsion by decades. More importantly, we now know their weakness." The Secretary General nodded thoughtfully. "Then we must prepare, not just to defend Earth, but perhaps to take our place among the stars." As humanity began this new chapter, satellites detected a small object entering the solar system. Another Krillian vessel, likely sent to investigate when the Sovereign went silent. But this one stayed at the system's edge, observing from a distance. The message was clear. Humanity had earned caution from the Krillian Empire. In his laboratory, Dr. Patel studied a stabilized fragment of Quantanium, now transformed by Earth's atmosphere into something new. The material held secrets that might someday propel humanity beyond their solar system. The aliens had come to conquer, but had instead gifted humanity with knowledge, and a warning about what awaited them among the stars. The Sovereign, designed to be indestructible, had been humbled by something as simple as air. It was a lesson in hubris that humanity took to heart as they prepared for their next encounter with the wider galaxy. Somewhere in that vast galaxy, the Krillian Empire was already planning their return. But next time, they would not underestimate the third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, or the ingenuity of its inhabitants.